Just a few moments ago, you heard the most amazing choir on the West Coast, and maybe everywhere, sing Psalm 84. And I wonder if you'll just indulge me while I read it to you now and ask you to listen as I read for the yearning for God as home. How dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. My soul has a desire and longing for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh rejoice in the living God. The sparrow has found her a house, and the swallow a nest where she may lay her young. By the side of your altars, O Lord, our hosts of hosts, my King and my God. Happy are they who dwell in your house. They will always be praising you. Happy are the people whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on the pilgrim's way. Those who go through the desolate valley will find it a place of springs, for the early rains have covered it with pools of water. They will climb from height to height, and the God of gods will reveal himself in Zion. This song is about pilgrims journeying to Jerusalem. They call it Zion, which is the name of one of the two hills in the city. And Zion is also how you describe the temple, where the ancient pilgrims believed that God made God's self a home on earth. So pilgrims in ancient times headed there often, but especially 3 times a year for Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot, harvest festivals, time to give thanks and to celebrate. But I feel like this psalm is something more. Even just the opening line, how dear to me is your dwelling, O Lord of hosts. It sounds to me like more than just an enthusiastic annual temple worship expression. The pilgrim here is overjoyed to lay eyes on the holy city. The sight is true refreshment, true nourishment for the pilgrim's soul. So what do you hear in those words from Psalm 84? Can you hear that yearning for God? Can you hear that yearning for closeness to God, for a chance to dwell in God's presence, for the experience of God as home? I really love the image of the sparrows and the swallows. Priests and birds lived in the temple complex in ancient times, and I just imagine all those birds roosting and nesting in the temple eaves just for extra closeness to the divine. All their nests conjure an image of God's temple as a place of serenity, protection, a kind of intimacy, security, and community. And I think a weary pilgrim entering Jerusalem and heading for the temple might, like a sparrow or a swallow, seek all those things too. I think we seek all those things too. You know, in my 20s, before I had a family of my own, I used to dream of someday having a family, and my idea of family life was sketchy at best. But there was one image that came to me so clearly: making pancakes in a warm, sunny kitchen. My soul knew that would feel like family, that would feel like home. It was not a thoroughly worked out plan, I admit, but the feeling of home was there all the same. And in the years that followed, I did make a lot of pancakes. For me, yearning for a home, though, it wasn't about a physical location. It was about a feeling of warmth and safety. And this week, I was teaching the younger grades at St. James School the story of Noah's Ark. Now, they all know the part about how there was a man and his family and a big boat full of animals. But they were horrified to hear the story of how God angrily sent a flood to wipe out all of human and animal kind except for those in the boat. Noah, his wife, sons, their wives, and these representatives from the animal kingdom, they were horrified, as well they should be. So you can imagine their relief when later in the story we get to the part where Noah sends a dove to search for dry land, and Noah sends this dove out twice, and eventually she comes back with an olive leaf in her beak. And we know that now there was something green and growing on earth again. Life on earth reborn, rebooted, and our curriculum, which is called Godly Play, adds a very sweet detail in this story, which does not appear in Genesis. We tell the children, Noah waited 7 more days. He sent the dove out again, and this time she did not come back. She made a nest and stayed in it. And so, as part of the lesson, I place a small wooden dove who's been searching the earth for dry land. I put her in a little tiny nest made of twigs to show this dove in her new home. And then at the end of the lesson, I asked the students, what was your favorite part of the story? And of course, many of them said, when the rain stopped. Fair. Others said when the dove brought back the olive leaf. Understandable. But quite a few said, my favorite part was when the dove found herself a home. And she does, in this story, find a home, the first home in the new world God recreated. And I wonder if it resonated for them because, on a very deep level, each of us is searching for our home with God. And this journey can mean different things. It can mean so many different things. On a very basic level, it can mean that we want to celebrate and thank God for the good things in our lives, just as the pilgrims did entering Jerusalem thousands of years ago on Passover and Shavuot and Sukkot, thankful for the harvest, thankful for life. Yes, that's one way that we're searching for our connection with God. And it can also mean lament as we cry out to God to please, please, please address the injustices of the world, the cruelty, the abuse of power, the needless suffering. That's another way to draw closer to our God as home. It can mean that we want a more intimate closeness with God, more of a sense of closeness, knowing that we are not alone on this planet, that we are held in the arms of a loving God. We are actually inside the nest of God's love. And perhaps even more deeply than all of those, this God as home journey can be a journey of awakening. So the writer Richard Rohr writes about this. He writes about how in our early adulthood, I think that's our 20s and 30s and maybe 40s, we spend our time building up our ego, building up our professional selves as individuals in the world. We construct our grown-up identity, that outward-facing self, designed to impress others. And then, as we age, we begin to learn how to let go of that ego, to take it apart, and to start to discover instead the self deep down inside, the one created by God, the self that was inside of us all along. And this part of the journey is a journey of dismantling, a journey of letting go of ego and surrendering to God, and it offers us amazing chances for closeness to God. We come to know more than ever before how deeply we are God's own. And this inner journey toward closeness with God, this journey home, I love how we hear about it in these lines from T.S. Eliot, from the Four Quartets. I want you to listen to these words and listen for your own journey. We shall not cease from exploration. And the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Through the unknown, remembered gate, when the last of earth left to discover is that which was the beginning. At the source of the longest river, the voice of the hidden waterfall and the children in the apple tree, not known because not looked for, but heard, half heard, in the stillness between two waves of the sea. Quick now, here, now, always. A condition of complete simplicity, costing not less than everything. One last thought. Like sparrows, soon we will return to our temple, St. James Church. We will nest again in that glorious holy space. Some of you will be entering for the first time, actually. And as we re-enter that home, which will feel to us both old and new, let us watch and listen for how God is inviting us on the next step of the journey into God's own heart. Amen.